Our region's business is sponsored by PNC for the achiever in you. Our region's business, improving our economy, creating jobs, and strengthening communities. Innovation, collaboration, transformation, and the people making it happen. Join us as we take a closer look at our region's business. Now, here's your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, how to protect my million and yours. Plus, we'll meet a young woman from our region who parlayed a degree in electrical engineering into a trip around the world with a solar-powered airplane. But first, the fast-moving world of cyber law, public policy, and personal security. These issues are front and center at the new Cyber Institute at the University of Pittsburgh, which is tackling everything from privacy concerns in the era of the cloud to that alleged Russian hacking during the presidential election. Former U.S. Attorney David Hickton has signed on as the founding director, and he is back with us today. And welcome. Good to have you here.
Good to be here, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing okay, but I'm having a hard time keeping up. I mean, even just in the area of cybersecurity, it was all about Russian hacking 2 weeks ago. Now it's about hacking into the traffic control system in Washington, D.C. These issues are really front and center right now, all around us.
Yeah, it seems like it gets more dynamic every day, but it's a real threat. It's a real problem. And how we measure digital space going forward is a big challenge for all of us, and it's really important.
For folks who aren't too aware of the new Institute at Pitt, how do you see that fitting into this conversation and thinking about it?
Well, we're very hopeful and very ambitious that the new Institute of Cyber Law and Policy at the University of Pittsburgh can become an important mecca for people to come together to come up with new and innovative thinking, to present dynamic solutions in this evolving environment. It's a multidisciplinary institute which is going to involve the law school, the School of Engineering, the School of Information Science, the School of Computing, the Graduate School, the Health Sciences, and it's really more about understanding not only just cybersecurity, but big data and how we can leverage the opportunities and do a better job protecting ourselves. So it'll have an education function, it'll have a convening function and a collaborating function. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, you think about Pittsburgh at the forefront, computing, some of the big data, everything that's happening with artificial intelligence. A good reason to be doing this here and making this happen.
Yeah, well, Pittsburgh has become the intersection of a lot of the work. When I was U.S. Attorney, we were the #1 place for cyber law enforcement, but that's just one tool in the toolbox. And I was over at Carnegie Mellon the other day talking to them. We intend to continue our great work with them at SciLab and CERT and the Software Engineering Institute. There's the National Cyber Forensic Training Alliance, the public-private partnership, one of a kind until now, which is being franchised off of Pittsburgh to New York and LA. What an extraordinary event. And then, of course, the great investigators at the FBI and the other federal components that are the best in the world. So we have it all here. We have the opportunity to make a meaningful difference, and I intend to continue my work in this area now at the University of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and you mentioned the FBI and the team that you had a hand in creating here that really put our region on the front lines of defense against the United States. I've got to ask you, though, as a former U.S. attorney and so recently within government, what do you make of this transition that's happening here and all the uncertainty about some of these institutions right now?
Well, I think there's a huge difference between wanting to shake up things and going beyond that and discrediting or attacking our institutions. So let me take it one slice at a time.
Sure.
I was very troubled by any suggestion that the consensus of 17 intelligence agencies would be discredited so cavalierly. When
this was on the roll of the Russian hacking.
Yeah, we
election,
know
right?
it happened. We know that our election integrity has been suspect since 2008 when there was hacking of Senator Obama and Senator McCain. We know that Mitt Romney was hacked in 2012. We ought not be casting doubt on our own resources. So I think it's important to be skeptical of government power. It's important to be skeptical always of the content of what we're told. But you don't cross that line and criticize the best security agencies in the world. More recently, we had the resignation of the Deputy Attorney General, Sally Yates, which I think was a dark day. I remember when I was U.S. Attorney, we were brought to the White House by then President Obama, and it's an event and a moment that stands at the top of my experience as U.S. Attorney and still gives me goosebumps when I think about it. But President Obama said, I brought you all here And Sally Yates was the U.S. Attorney in Atlanta at the time, and Loretta Lynch was the U.S. Attorney in Brooklyn. And Eric Holder was the Attorney General. He said, I brought you all here to tell you one thing. I selected you, but you do not work for me. You work for the American people. That's the great tradition of the Department of Justice. And I think we cannot lose sight of that fact, that we are protected by the role of the Department of Justice, which admittedly the people, including me, are picked through a political process. But once you go there, you shed your political affiliation and you're there to do justice. And that is the responsibility of the leadership there. So I'm very concerned about where the leadership is going to take the Department of Justice. I would have not been for Attorney General Jeff Sessions. If I were a senator, I would not confirm him. But he is now our Attorney General, and he deserves our support. But I'm very hopeful that he remains faithful to the great tradition of the Department of Justice, which has been a nonpartisan tradition that we're to do justice for all of the American people, and that institution, by its name and its mission, is to protect the constitutional rights of everyone. You know, Bill, one of the first things we learn as young children when we leave the house is how to say the Pledge of Allegiance. And it ends with, "and liberty and justice for all." I have never heard anyone, when they said the Pledge of Allegiance, end it by saying, "and liberty and justice for some." That's what you think about when you serve in the Department of Justice, as I have. So I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned about where we're going with the polarizing hostility that's going to get us nowhere. And that really I lay at the feet of both sides of the extreme political right and left. I think there has to be a consensus for the good of the country. You know, were I in charge, we would have more of the British system, where we would have election cycles and you couldn't participate outside a narrow window. We seem to be already putting ourselves in the position of run up for the next election. I don't know how you're supposed to govern this country if we're in a perpetual cycle.
Well, we have been for years. We have to take a break, but when I come back, I want to pick up on some of this institutional issue that you raised, because it really does come down what role are the courts going to play, the press going to play in making sure that the system remains. So if you can stay with us, we'll be back in just a moment with David Hickton, former U.S. attorney in this district, and now with the new Cyber Institute at the University of Pittsburgh. Stay with us.